On July 18th, 2018, Corey Coyote of Damn Dog Games released a rather special video. It wasn't like his other gaming or furry related videos. Rather, he opened up to his audience about being on the autism spectrum.
So why are you bringing this up? The reason why I bring this up is because I know there's a large portion of the furry fandom that suffers from autism. Yeah, I don't see anyone talking about it. I don't see really just any personal experiences with the condition.
While I personally am not an avid watcher of his YouTube videos, or gaming related videos in general, it's that one video that always sticks out to me, because I rarely see a lot of furries talk openly about their autism the way that Corey did. Which is weird, isn't it? It's a prevalent thing within this fandom. So why not talk about it? For Autism Awareness Month, I've scouted and interviewed furries along the spectrum of autism disorders, including myself, each with a different perspective and life story. Hopefully this will be something educational for those that are either on the spectrum or those that are supportive or just wanting to learn more about what it's like being autistic. In other words, in this video, we'll be talking about furries with autism. Hello, I go by my online handle, Lightning Runner, fairly often. My persona is a bull. His name is Burger. It is a very fitting name, I'm aware. That's intentional. Outside of being a bull, I am 28 years old, almost 29. I go by male pronouns, he, him.
So my name is, as I go by in the fandom, is Schattenreiter. I'm 23 years old. I have multiple personas. I have an owl, I have a kangaroo, I have a bunny, I have a Pokemon, and a dragon. They're all aspects and facets of my personality.
Hi, my name's Jeremy. I'm 26 years old. My persona is Jeremy as well, and he's a dragon shapeshifter. He formerly had other animal forms, but now he's solely a dragon shapeshifter along with his human form.
This is Ian Navziger. I sometimes go by Riley. I am 30 years old, go by they, them. My persona is Emery Snowtail and Batsicon Varanus.
My name is Angelina. I'm 22 years old. I go by she, her pronouns, and my persona's name is Snips. And Snips is basically what I like to call Hollow Bees. She's basically the living spirit of Halloween, and she's here for a good time.
Hello?
Outside of the fandom, I'm very much into the gaming community. I've been gaming for years. Played everything from like the Atari to the current consoles that are out right now.
I'm a student at University of Texas at Dallas, majoring in theater and minoring in video game design. I'm also an actor, a writer, a singer, a gamer, and plus I love pretty much almost every music, and I can just pretty much go on and on with my hobbies and other interests and such.
A fun fact about me, I am actually an animation student and I specialize in character art and design, so I want to be able to work out for the big industries in Burbank one day. That's my dream come true.
Pretty much an open book with regards to all this because I'm pretty proud of the fact that I am autistic.
Essentially, I'm very glad that I finally am able to do this sort of project. I want people to be more aware of autism, especially during the Autism Awareness Month. I don't just want people to be aware of the concept of autism, just how people deal with it, how people who have it, sort of how they function. For this project, I'm going to be showing different perspectives of people along the autism spectrum disorders.
I fall on the high-functioning part of the autism spectrum, sometimes called Asperger's syndrome, depending on who you ask. I wasn't officially diagnosed per se. It goes back to when I was a kid and my parents were in the army stationed in Germany. I started showing early signs considering that I was vocally stunted. I didn't talk very much, but I've devoured books from a very early age. I started reading when I was 3 or 4, I would guess. And by the time I was 6 and I got tested, it was, my skills had grown pretty prodigiously by that point.
Asperger's high functioning, which means I can function relatively normal in most situations. Most people don't even know I even have it until I actually tell them. Or if they have it, then they can actually tell. When I was first diagnosed was when I was 13. I was diagnosed by a doctor, I believe. I felt that it didn't really change the way I was, because I've always been kind of weird and stuff like that. But with my family, they felt like it was just me, but they also started treating me differently because of it. So it turned into them treating me like I didn't understand things, and it still goes on to this day. So it does cause a lot of problems.
So I was diagnosed with Asperger's in the 4th grade. And originally my family didn't really know how to feel about it because it was something that was completely new, unbeknownst to them. And I didn't really know how to feel about it because, at the time I was a dumb kid. You hear the words haha, ass and burger in one, and I was embarrassed by the title. But I feel like that diagnosis definitely helped because when I was a younger child, I felt like not a lot of people really understood me or really who or what I was about. So I was made to feel kind of like I was the problem child of my life, and it was hard. But I think now that I had this diagnosis, it was easier for people to kind of understand why I acted the way I did or why I was the way I was. And it's definitely benefited me in my everyday life, knowing how I can work around, my brain and having it work for me in a way that's beneficial.
At the time that I was tested, Asperger's was considered separate from autism spectrum disorder, at least in Germany and in the Army at the time. I got tested for autism, and I did not show up on the test. However, the doctor said on the report that I was non-autistic with autistic tendencies, which we have translated over the years to mean Asperger's syndrome. We never got an official diagnosis. I would like to get one eventually, but health insurance does not cover diagnostics for autism spectrum yet.
On the autism spectrum, I have a higher function form of Asperger's. But my family mostly remembers it because it was summer of 1995 and I was 1.5 years old. I got my first shots, and then after that, I started to act different because I was sort of interacting a little bit very well before getting the shots, but after that, I didn't interact that much anymore. My speech and such was so slow in development that I sometimes had a hard time making conversations because I felt afraid if I mess up my conversation or pronunciation or whatnot.
Officially, I am considered to have Asperger's syndrome. It's a mild form of autism. Now, I don't have a big memory of this, but according to my mother, it was about when I was 3 years old in preschool. She and the caretakers that worked there saw that I had some signs of ADD or autism, but they weren't quite sure yet, so they just kind of kept an eye on me. And then into pre-K and kindergarten, my mother made sure to give the scoop to the teachers there. And then I was brought to a professional, someone who works in pediatrics, but also like mental health and all that. I was apparently very intelligent, but so there was nothing wrong with me physically or emotionally. It's just that the way my brain was wired, I just had a lack of focus and I was always crawling around trying to explore, while my brain was still sort of listening to everything. I really was the socially awkward kid growing up. It's just something you attune to and try to perform more normally. I mean, I've been told I've had friends before. Most of them were girls. I don't know what that implies. I was not the most talkative person. I was the quiet kid in class, unless the teacher was specifically going around answering questions, and then I would just like, whoop, hand goes immediately up with an answer, because I was smart, but I was not one for chit-chat. Even if I did pick up on social cues, I would just be very blunt with people. There was no real saving face or gracefully saying something more polite. It was just straight up, no, I'm not interested in that, go away. But, you know, it's honest.
When I was younger, I couldn't tell when people wanted me to stop talking to them. Like, I'm a bit better with it now, but I still have trouble telling when somebody doesn't want to talk or something like that. I tend to get kind of angered easily when it comes to communication, stuff like that, but you know, it usually comes in little outbursts. But then again, it's gotten a little better over the years. Things have changed. I don't know if this is because of my Asperger's or whatever, but my stress is like really bad.
It's usually hard to interact with people that give me a hard time or hard to work with or being competitive. Like, I usually like to interact with people that usually have common interests with me rather than not have common interests with me. Working at customer service, it was a pain because of how certain customers treat me, that I usually don't want to serve them. It's hard to not restrict, but what can you do in a world like this?
If I'm stressed out, instead of going head on with the social interaction, I tend to try to avoid the social interaction. And I do it every time. And also, if somebody's mad, I tend to try to avoid them. I do have this thing where when I'm really angry, I tend to growl for some reason. I don't know why. It's just something I tend to do. I have no idea.
One of my huge special interests that I can tell you guys about is definitely the whole Halloween thing. I've always been obsessed with Halloween as a kid. When I was 2 or 3, I would watch The Nightmare Before Christmas on repeat. I absolutely love the film Beetlejuice, as you can see right here. So I ended up making my persona pretty much look like a giant mix of everything that I'm super fond of. Another one is I struggle to move away from different topics. In school, when I was in high school, I struggled to move to a different topic or just like to work on a different assignment. And I would struggle with, kind of remembering things. But the general gist of it was definitely the socialization.
I just usually tend to do things that I love enjoying doing. Even if it doesn't please everyone, it's still that I just love doing it. Usually I don't even recognize that it's being repetitive or whatnot, but the times that I love to listen to my favorite music, I just love to jump around and rock and roll and everything.
So I have always been a very sensitive hearer. I've worked at a Chick-fil-A for a long time when I was going through college, and I could not enter the play area during business hours because the clashing colors messed with my head pretty significantly, and the screeching of the kids would drive me into the back.
I don't know if this is so much a sensory issue as it is just a sensory quirk. Well, with music, essentially. If there is like this little sweet spot where everything is sonically just whole and amazing sounding, I will instantly just try and shed a tear. My body just cannot handle it. It just goes into this little euphoric phase of just crying happily. The one and only time I went to either a Methodist or a Catholic mass, and just hearing the choir that was there, I don't even remember what the song was, but I just remember something just clicked and I just sobbed and cried just because of how sonically whole and complete that it sounded. Some people would call that a religious experience, like God was talking to them. I just think my brain really liked that.
I'm not good with loud noises at all. There was an incident where I went to a very close friend of mine and her family out to a Sizzler's restaurant, and the busboy actually dropped a whole mess of plates, and they crashed and made all kinds of horrible noises to the point where it hurt my entire body, and I was actually having a mini meltdown for a second, and it was really uncomfortable. I struggle a lot with the noise and the amount of people that are in crowds sometimes, because it just gets really overwhelming to me. I have to be very delicate with certain smells, and certain fruity smells I have a hard time with.
The last time when it came to sensitive hearing, it's a lot to explain, and I'd rather not talk about it because it'll just make you cry, and it'll make me cry too, so I kind of rather not talk about that. So I rather have my family and friends friendly touch me, but when it came to the customers, I just didn't like that. Now hugs, I don't mind that at all, because hugging is another best medication for me.
Now, I have known some people that they don't like hugging, they don't like touching, but I'm not necessarily one of those people. I just have trouble understanding if somebody doesn't like to be touched.
I did not ever have an aversion to hugs or being touched, although I am pretty ticklish in certain aspects. I'm not going to tell you where they are, because I know people will exploit that. And I'll tell you, whatever. It's like somewhere along my back, where my spine is, certain spots around my neck. That's about it, really.
For whatever reason, I do not like crushed velvet. When I touch it, it makes my teeth hurt, which is weird. And I hate sticky. I hate the feeling of sticky. It just makes me uncomfortable, and I just can't deal with that. It just, because I like feeling clean, and just the sticky sensation just does not agree with my body at all. So there's that. For treatments that I had, I would do a lot of group therapy. I would do a lot of therapy over the phone. I was never really given medicine. I did children groups, I did teenager groups, I did all kinds of groups, telephone communication with my groups. So we'd pick people we'd be paired up in little groups, and we practice talking to each other on the phone. And gosh, that was awkward as heck, because you could tell that the other person on the other end just was not into it. But I feel like I benefited a little bit more from the therapy of the groups than anything else. So I'm really grateful that I had that. Most
of my treatment involved vocal therapy. I did have professional vocal therapy to perfect the way that I talked. I was also given a very stubborn education with regards to social interaction. I do think I have something of a unique perspective, because I was able to flourish as an adult without the use of professional therapies or medicines, etc.
I went through those meetings that they do every quarter. I forget what they were called, but there's these meetings that you would go to through every quarter, and they would talk to you and see how you were doing and give you like a behavioral thing and all that. I also took classes in school that were specifically for like people like me. It was called like learning strategies or something like that, but didn't really help that much. But I did go through some of that, mostly in middle school and high school. Never really dealt with it in college, because college is different and nothing like high school, so I never had to really go through any of that.
I used to have medication to help me with my autism spectrum, such as patches and pills, but since my sophomore year in high school, they kept me awake all night, like insomnia kind of. So I kind of stopped taking medication for a while until recently. CBD has helped me a lot compared to the past medications that I had. Now as for therapy, we almost got me therapy, but we just didn't have the money. But if anything happens, then maybe I could get a therapy to help me when it comes to understanding and coming to terms with defeating my problems.
I have been told that I have taken Ritalin for my symptoms and any sort of ADD or OCD or autistic tendencies that I had. But other than that, I really don't remember a whole lot of medical treatments that I went through. There was one weird thing where I went through like acupuncture. That wasn't so much for like ADD symptoms, that was part of it, but also like for food allergies, whatever that was.
This is also kind of another sort of therapy. I do combat it with hiking trips, with going outside. There was a long time where I was pretty adverse to the sun. Like all of the different colors that were associated with the sun and with the outside, but I found that hiking was an excellent way of combating with those visual sensory issues, because I found that if I was surrounded by it, made me anxious, but at the same time it helped with the stimulus.
I'm going to give a brief description of what stimming is. Essentially, it is a repetitive movement with your body, or any sort of restrictive or repetitive behavior that you have that will keep your mind at ease. When I was growing up, I had a couple of little quirks that involved stimming. I actually remember getting scolded by my grandmother, where I was just, I don't know what I was doing. I was like clicking my tongue and clapping, clicking and clap, click my tongue and clap, and then she got tired of it. Like, I didn't get like smacked or beat or scolded, yelled at too much. She was just like, hey, can you not do that? Can you not? And even that was enough to me, like, oh, whoa, okay, that's not appropriate.
So as far as my stimming goes, I've always messed with my hair as long as I can remember. I've liked the feeling of brushing and running my fingers through my hair. I do that all the time. I still do. I also tend to space out a lot, like what's kind of happening right now. The omnipresent anxiety that always seems to be there is, I just kind of over the years learned to ignore it, I guess, and just fixate on the task at hand and not worry about the more eldritch stuff that doesn't have any direct impact.
One of the things that I tend to do is I have a bad habit of chewing on the inside of my mouth. I have some spots on the inside of my mouth that are kind of chewed up because I don't know, the feeling of chewing on skin just feels good. Sometimes I'll, whenever I'm wearing my suit like this, I'll just, I'll play with her ears, or, I'll just hold on to her nose. I actually will stim with my suit head to the point where I'll just kind of hug onto her and cuddle her.
I guess the way I stim nowadays is a lot more subtle. Like, I just kind of feel at my fingertips, or I bounce my leg. Like, I chew on my nails, touch my face. Stuff that doesn't seem like it's weird or out of place, but it's still some sort of physical, I don't know if it even puts my mind at ease. It's just my body making its own little movement to do whatever it wants.
Something that I notice that I tend to do is I do it whenever I'm stressed. A lot of the stimming definitely comes up more. So whenever I get kind of nervous, I'll actually, I'll grab a towel, I'll slap it on my thigh multiple times, or I'll tap my foot a bunch of times. It really depends on the situation that I'm being put in. But whenever I'm a little uncomfortable, what I tend to do is I'll chew on my lip, I'll tap on something that I have just because the sensation feels good. If I'm holding a close friend of mine's hand, or if I'm around people, I'll maybe rub their clothing or something like that, just for the sensation, because it makes me feel comfortable.
I've had various people, including my family, they don't treat me like an adult, and I feel like it's because of this. I've had people treat me like I'm a kid because I don't act like most adults. Like, I'm 23, but I swear most people when they meet me, unless they know me or see the way I act, they tend to assume I'm 15. So, like, people will act like I don't understand things, they'll act like I don't know what's going on, or they'll try to talk to me in a dumbed down sense, like I don't really understand. It's actually pretty annoying, honestly.
Because of my autism diagnosis, I have been bullied a lot as a kid. People would make fun of me because how the word Asperger's sounds, you don't pronounce it right. They make fun of me because of what I like and my interests were. I would get called the R word a lot, and I would feel like I was less of a person or a less functioning person because of my diagnosis, and because of that, I had a lot of self-doubts that I wasn't going to amount to, say, a normal person would. And it really broke my heart as a kid because I was really struggling with finding myself and who I was at the time. So when this diagnosis came up, it felt like it just kind of crashed my world.
I was never outright bullied. I was actually in a pretty good situation where no one would out and try to, like, ridicule me publicly in front of the class or something, or make fun of me and make a big show or anything like you would see in those corny school scenes and movies and TV shows and stuff. Like, of course that's exaggerated, but, like, I never felt like I was bullied just for having some sort of disorder. I was treated differently for being weird. That's the thing. It's a specific kind of, I guess, mistreatment or just distancing where people would make implications that you were weird, but not in the way that was like you were a bad kid or you were just not someone to hang out with, but you were just, God, you were just so weird. Why are you doing that? Why are you so weird? And to me, think about that later in hindsight. I guess that's sort of where some of the self-doubt I have in me came from. It's just, the more people pointed out how weird I was, all of my nervous tics, the fact that I couldn't look them in the eye properly, it's just, it helped me readjust how I was socially in front of people, but also it still, sometimes it did sting.
One of my interests is animals. I love animals. I've always been very fond of animals. So for whatever reason, there would be, dead birds or something out there on the field that I think cats would get. And there was an incident that I remember that I was actually held back by my arms, and I had dead birds pushed into my face. So I would specifically have a meltdown, so these kids would intentionally try to make me uncomfortable and upset. And I still have a little bit of trauma from that. So I get really uncomfortable or upset when I see dead animals or roadkill or anything like that, because it brings those memories back up for me again.
Bullying really didn't happen to me outside of it happened to me in middle school, but it wasn't because of Asperger's. It was because I was just weird. And again, that might be because of Asperger's. I was just weird, and people don't like that and stuff like that, So once I got to high school, it kind of stopped. And now things have gotten a little better. So I'm definitely in a better mindset on that.
In middle school, I don't remember which grade it was, but there were specifically these two kids who would try to follow me around. They were my friends, but also they would just mess with me so hard. They would basically tease me and try to feed me false info just to get a rise out of me. I think that's the worst that I experienced.
I was bullied often back in my school days, up to my high school days, especially being cyberbullied. That was not really fun for me to endure. But now, thanks to my family and my friends, I am much more stronger today than I was back then. And I continue to be strong as I garner more acceptance for who I am, and I continue to be happy being me and continue to be me and doing things that I enjoy doing. And that helps motivate me a lot.
So my job my workplace rather, is basically a giant call center, and phones make me anxious, as I mentioned before. So I've been able to use autism as an excuse for staying off of phones, and that's what kind of got me into the position that I am in now, which I really enjoy. People don't, at least in my current work environment, people do not pity me or treat me any differently. They just treat it as just another thing, rather than, oh my god, this guy is sick, we need to walk on eggshells around them. My ASD has made me aware that I am a flawed individual, but as a result, I've been able to train myself to accept criticism with grace and dignity. And that's made me a valuable asset within the company. So I do think that my experience has been largely positive. Autism, when I was growing up, Fred Rogers used to say that the outsides have changed, but the insides have not. And I believe that's largely the same for children everywhere, including those on the spectrum. Obviously, those who are afflicted by anti-vaxxer morons, or even worse, people who think autism speaks to something good. I do pity those children, but at the end of the day, I do think that they will come out all right. But I really do believe that the guidance is there.
Kids do have it a little better now that have any kind of autism diagnosis, because of the fact that advancing technology has been a thing. I feel like there are definitely a lot more techniques out there that benefit our kids now.
I do feel like they do have it better now, because people are starting to understand more of how Asperger's works, how autism works, things like that. So they're able to get the treatment and the stuff they need beforehand, as opposed to the early 2000s where you weren't really able to get that kind of stuff. And I think people are becoming more socially accepting of it. They're starting to treat people differently, the same as they do anybody else.
I know the movie Inside Out has been huge with having kids describe how they're feeling, especially the nonverbal children. So I think that's really good. But in terms of bullying, I think that's probably a varying factor, because of the fact children are unfortunately going to be children, and they are going to make fun of someone and not realize what their consequences of their actions are.
Despite that acceptance is still growing, I sadly still see some children and teenagers being mistreated for their mental disorders or disabilities like me, whether it's autism or bipolar or whatnot. It's just sad that people still don't understand people being different or how they are or whatnot, and it just tears me up, because it reminds me of how I was mistreated by bullies and haters just because I have autism spectrum and because I'm different.
You can't really control what a child does, because unfortunately a child doesn't know right or wrong at that exact moment until you teach them.
I believe things have gotten better and worse, because it's gotten better with treatment and diagnosing, but it's also gotten worse because of the internet. People lose their face when they're online. They become anonymous. They don't see people eye to eye. I mean, that's better for people like me that are on the spectrum, just because you don't have to feel them right next to you, staring at you and judging you and how you look and all that. But also, it just brings out the worst in people. It takes away that filter you have in real life. You lose a couple of social cues and graces, and you just blast right through something that you otherwise would not do or would not say to someone right to their face. But thankfully the internet has places, safe spaces and all that. People can go to different places and talk about their experiences. They can upload videos and other content and talk about what's going on. They can get help. They can reach across the internet and receive some sort of communication. They could be told it's okay. They could be told, hey, this is how you deal with this.
I look back at when, in my early elementary school days as a kid, I knew that I was a dragon shapeshifter deep inside, but I never acknowledged it to anyone except my middle brother Jeffrey, who has always been supportive of me. And then, by the time I was in between elementary and middle school, that was when I joined the furry fandom, and I felt like, yes, this is totally me. And then after joining, I have garnered support, acceptance, love, respect, and integrity from all of my new furry friends at the time, and which some are still with me to this day. They've also never minded my disorder. They've also have supported me and defended me and stand by me, along with my middle brother Jeffrey, against the cyberbullies that I've faced.
Furry fandom honestly has not helped me very much with regards to acceptance of ASD. Brony fandom had a lot more to do with that. Like, it showed me that it was okay to be different, it was okay to be weird, and from there, it advanced into furry fandom. So, furry fandom itself has not been hugely influential, other than giving me a place where my differences are accepted.
When I was younger, I was actually afraid to tell people that I was autistic, and because of the fact that I had been bullied so much as a child. But now I'm proud of who I am. I've done a lot of really good things in my life now because of my high intensity to certain things, one of those being animation. And I think that I've succeeded pretty well with my animation student work that I've done. My persona Snips is a huge part of my autism because essentially she is my special interest. When I was designing Snips, that's a huge aspect of who she is. She's literally the spirit of Halloween, but as a monster. And her goal is to show, people and children and everyone that, you can have fun on Halloween and still be safe. She's fun, she's giggly, she's bouncy. She's a lot like cartoon Beetlejuice or Discord from My Little Pony.
One way that it helped / affected me in terms of having Asperger's is it helped me to become more social. Like, I'm able to talk with people now a lot easier, and a lot of people don't catch on that I have Asperger's until they meet me. And also it's given me a lot of friends, which for someone like me it's kind of hard to make friends when one of my things is I have trouble staying on topic and stuff like that. So I will say that definitely the fandom has helped me make a lot of friends and also helped me become more social and kind of get out of that Asperger's shell per se.
The first time I recognized myself as a part of this fandom was almost exactly 10 years ago, back in March of 2010. Ever since then, I had been able to go to gatherings and meetups and all that of like-minded people, and that I didn't have to stay indoors all day. I could learn more about social interaction. I could hang out with people that didn't mind me being around.
I feel like I'm able to express myself more, and I feel freer in terms of when I wear Snips, because her character projects onto me. And I feel like I'm truly being myself when I wear my costume and when I'm around other furries who feel the same way with their costumes.
I have a YouTube channel now, and I have a significant audience, I guess. People care about what I post online. It's given me the skills that I needed to create these videos as well. It's given me the experience, it's given me the skill set, it's given me tips and tricks. I mean, part of that was going to university and film school and all that, but also it wasn't just a way to consume media and pass time. It wasn't just something to binge, it was also something to learn from. One time at Texas Furry Fiesta, I actually gave a panel about the student documentary that I did put together for my final thesis. and then talked about my channel and showed one of my videos. Like, I wouldn't have had any other situation where I could do that, where I could talk about my YouTube channel, where I could talk about my YouTube videos to other people in such a space as like a fan convention like that. So there's a lot that the furry fandom has done to me. It's helped me discover a bit more about who I am and what I like. And it's given me a lot of friends that I could talk to, especially other furries that do YouTube videos.
The fandom has really inspired me and helped me to become a better person in terms of socialization and interaction and enjoying others, and I cannot thank it enough for having this positive impact on me. And I'm truly forever grateful for the people I've met through this fandom and the interactions I've had and the relationships I've had, because I feel like they've all shaped me to be a better person and to teach myself that autism is fine and it's okay. And I just have to figure out a different way to maneuver about my day, but that's it.
If I had the opportunity to trade my autism for normalcy, I would not do it, because I've long ago learned to embrace that my differences are cherished, and if people don't see it that way, then that's their loss.
Don't put yourself down because of what you have. You want to be proud of who you are and accept it as part of you. Just see it as a different way to see the world as opposed to a hindrance. If anybody sees you differently because you're on the spectrum, then that person you don't need to be friends with that person. Like, do not be friends with that person. Anyone that is your true friend will treat you the same as anybody else.
Essentially, it boils down to people care about you. They don't care what you do. Unless you live in a conservative area where people basically tell you what to do every single step of the way. It doesn't matter if you're furry, it doesn't matter if you're a musician, an artist, if you're an electrical engineer, and even if it doesn't feel like it, people still care about you. Even if you don't interact much with people, there's still this circle that you have, there's still this network that you have where people still care about you. And if you haven't found that, you just need to search for it.
So anybody who is viewing this, do not be afraid to be yourself. Don't feel afraid to hide who you are just because you have a different brain from other people. If anything, you should be proud of having that gift and use it to the best you can to benefit yourself and to benefit the interactions and beautiful experiences you're going to have in your life.
And always follow your dreams. Never listen to those who don't understand. Never listen to the haters. Just continue being you, continue what you love doing, and continue to follow your dreams and your goals. You have a reason to live, so don't give up, and it'll just get better if you give it a chance. You are awesome, and you will go far.
I can tell you right now that the road is not easy, but it is getting better through the work of people like the Daniel Jordan Fiddle Foundation and any other autistic nonprofit that's not Autism Speaks. But the strength ultimately comes within you. Difference is valuable, and the fact that you and I are different makes us valuable to everybody else. You should not go through life a single day regretting who you are, because you are you. Nothing can, will, or should ever change that. As long as you have a good heart, you're going to be fine.
Because without you, I'm sure people would definitely not have as much of an impactful or beautiful experience in their lives. You are worth it, and you are valid, and so many people love you for who you are. Don't ever be afraid to change yourself or hide any little aspect of yourself, because you are an art piece and you are worth every single bit of love and attention that you deserve.
All I want to say is thank you guys for always being there for me and supporting me, especially with my disorder, and also thank you for influencing me to be myself and continuing to be the real me and continue to do what I love and enjoy doing. Thank you guys so much for that. And to my middle brother Jeffrey, thank you too, bro. I love you all. Thank you.
Thanks for watching, everyone. Admittedly, this video is different from my other content, but if you do want to stick around, you can watch some more of my videos, subscribe to my channel, and if you look down below, you will see my social media, my Discord server, and a link to my Patreon as well. Special thanks to all the participants in this video, and for all of you for watching this. Go ahead and spread this video around, share it with family, friends, or other furries you think might benefit from this little video that I made. But what I would like to see the most is more furries with autism sharing their stories, sharing what symptoms they have, going into detail about what they want to share with the world, and why they're proud to be autistic. You can do that in the comments below, or you can even make your own videos about this. This has been Lightning Runner, and once again, thank you for watching. Have a good day.